In this section, we'll look at importing geometry from other systems. To bring in geometry, there's two different ways. File Open will open up a new part in its own tab at the bottom, versus Insert will insert files into the working document. If you're building an assembly, you most likely want to insert files into a design versus opening them up on their own. To start, let's go to File Open. You'll notice there's nothing in this folder because by default, SpaceClaim filters to SpaceClaim files only. If we like to open up something from a different file format, you can choose one, or at the bottom, choose all files. To start, we'll be opening up a step file. So I'm going to filter to step files and open up an input shaft. Step files, IGES files, and various file formats can contain either assemblies or single parts. In this case, you'll notice there's an assembly of 4 solids. In this case, as soon as the part comes in, you'll notice that it has a solid body in it. This is very similar to the bodies we were editing earlier. Because of this, we can immediately use our pull, move, fill, and combine tools on the model. So again, as soon as the part comes in, pull will allow us to make a change or modification to the model. Pull makes faces larger or smaller. If I use move, I can do a box select on the left side of the model, and we can move these faces. Remember, with move, select the faces you like to move, pick a direction, and then type in the value. Fill, remember, lets us remove things from a model. If I'm in select and I start to box, remember pausing for a second will let you see what's in your box before you select it. Here we're selecting all of the teeth, and fill will let us remove them from the model. Lastly, let's look at combine, and let's look at merging these 4 bodies into one. Combine lets us pick a target object, such as the shaft, and either merge things into it or cut things away from it. We'll choose to merge and select on 1, 2, 3 bodies to merge them together. So you'll notice that parts can come in and can be edited as soon as they come into SpaceClaim. However, what happens when the files aren't robust? What happens if they're damaged files on import? For this, we have our Repair tab to try to fix them before you work on them. Now let's look at files that aren't quite as clean. I'm going to File, Open, and I'm going to open a Parasolid file to start. Due to translation issues, certain files might not come in as watertight solids like we've seen here. So to start, we'll open up blade.x_t. You'll notice a few things as this part comes in. The first thing you'll notice is the part has surfaces in the structure tree. You'll also notice that the part is see-through by default. Surfaces in SpaceClaim are transparent, and solids are opaque. To turn this into a watertight solid which we can work on, we'll want to focus on the Solidify group inside the Repair tab. The first thing we should always run is Stitch. What Stitch does is it brings several surfaces together into one single surface. So the fact that it's transparent and there's more than one surface in the tree makes me want to run Stitch. And what Stitch will do is it will highlight the edges which aren't touching each other, coincident, and let you stitch this together into one single piece. You'll notice where we saw several surfaces, it's now stitched together into one single surface. After that, we'll want to run gaps or missing faces. Notice there's 3 missing faces in the status message in the bottom of the screen, and we have 4 gaps. Typically, it doesn't matter which tool you run second, whether it's gaps or missing faces. In this case, we'll look at the gaps tool first. As I zoom into some of these problems, you can see what a gap is where there's 2 small edges where there should only be 1. And to quickly get around the model to see all the issues, there's a Zoom to Fit button. This will automatically zoom in on one of the potential problem areas and let you walk through the model. Think of these repair tools like a spell checker that you're walking through to examine the problem areas to see how you'd like to fix them. Again, two edges where there should only be one, and if I click on it, you'll notice that one true edge is placed there. We look at the surfaces on each side to determine where that new edge should be located. So again, to fix these issues, you can click the red areas to remove them. When there's no more gaps in the model, the status message will tell you in the upper left-hand corner of the window or the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Lastly, let's look at missing faces. And remember, as you're fixing gaps and missing faces, there will be options that you can use on the left side of the screen. The options mainly determine whether it's going to be recognized as a missing face or a gap. Once all of the gaps and missing faces are cleaned up, you'll automatically get a watertight solid. However, with missing face, there's a few options on how we want to fix them. Notice we have the option to use patch or fill as we do this. Patch is used to fix a large area on the model. And what it does is it uses the edges around the part, when I click it, to patch a new face into it. Notice as I click on the second face, it uses the edges to patch that opening in. If I undo in the quick access toolbar in the upper left hand corner of the screen, I may want to switch this to fill. If I think the faces can extend, so this face can extend up to close this area off, a fill might give me the best fix on the problem area. So fill is mainly for smaller openings or things that can be extended, whereas patch is better for large openings. Something like this would be much better done with a patch. And you'll notice as soon as I click that last area, the surface has turned into a solid. Now this is a model that I could use pull, move, fill, and combine on. Let's look at one more part. I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to switch my file format to all files. Notice I have a PRT of gaps. In this case, you'll notice it comes in as one single surface. In this case, I don't need to run Stitch. Stitch is used to bring multiple surfaces together into one. Instead, I'll check missing faces and gaps. There's no missing faces, but there's several gaps on the model. 33 areas are found. What I'd like to point out in this example is that you can fix a lot of problems at the same time. First, I'll typically zoom in, see what one of the problems looks like, and click to fix it. If it's fixing the way I want it to and giving me good results, then I can start to fix multiple areas at the same time. If I do a box select, I can fix part of the model together. With all of these selected, the check mark will fix those specific regions. If there's nothing box selected and just 17 gaps left, the check mark will start to fix these gaps and walk us through the issue. As I check this, look in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen and you can notice that it's walking through all those problem areas. Once it's fixed these issues, again, the surface model has turned into a watertight solid and become opaque. So I hope you've seen how you can use tools, pull, move, fill, combine, on imported geometry, and also how to repair imported geometry to a watertight solid so you can make modifications and edits to them.